Alright, we're at the next major step here of the build, and that's laying out the house. So how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to use some scrap 2x4s, make some stakes, and I already laid out kind of the roughly where I want the front of the house, how I want it angled. So what we'll do is we'll drive some stakes in, and then we need 4 string lines for, you know, a square rectangle. And then we'll lay it out, and I'll show you how to square it and all that as we go. So let's start getting some stakes in, and then I'll show you how I will square it up. All right, I got my first wall ready to put up the line. So I'll just kind of basically show you quick how I'm gonna how I did this, and then this one right here will be what I base all of my other measurements off. So this is the front of the garage, and so I kind of know the angle I want it. So if I get this string line up, I will base all my other measurements off of this line, and that way it'll all be square. So first thing I did was I put 2 stakes in a 2x4 at each end, a few feet beyond the corners of the front of the garage. So we'll check it out here. So you can see I put 2 stakes in and screwed a 2x4 and level across there. This stake right here is the front left part of my garage, and as you can see looking down that's relatively in the center of my board. And if you look all the way down, you can see that the other corner of the garage is also in the center. That way I have the room to move my string line left to right, and you'll see that later on. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some screws in these boards and run a string line down along here. Let's do a quick double check to make sure the front corners of my garage are close to what I want them to be. I want it to be outside corner to outside corner is 56 feet. All right, got the first string line. This is going to represent the front outside edge of the garage, and I used a bright orange line so I can see it pretty well. All right, so now that I got that laid out, I know the depth of my garage is going to be 40 feet. Part of that is, I'll show you later on in my plans. I'm going to have a garage, and in the back of my garage I'm going to have a little workspace. I'm going to have an office where I keep all my hunting gear and stuff like that. I'm going to have a canning kitchen, and then all my utilities. That's why it's 40 foot deep. So I'm going to, from these corners, rough corners, I'm going to measure over 40 feet, put 2 more stakes, and then I will put another set of these stakes and 2x4s over there, and then I'll get my 40 foot distance measured off accurately, and then I'll show you how we can square it off and get straight lines. All right, now that I got these 2 set on the opposite side of the garage, I'm just going to get a screw in where I think it's close to 40 feet, and then I'll fine tune it once I get it all up here. All right, now that I got that done, I'm gonna measure, since I know that string line in front is where I want the front of my garage to be, I'm gonna measure from that line, and I'm gonna measure 40 feet over, and then I'll adjust this screw so I know this end of the line to this end of the line is exactly 40 feet, and I'll do the same thing at the other end, and then my lines running parallel in the front and back of the garage should be 40 feet apart all the way from left to right of the garage. And then from that point we will put up the boards and the lines on the left and right side of the garage, and then I'll show you how to make sure that they're square. All right, now we'll go down to the opposite end and do it down there, and we'll work on the left and right hand side. I'm gonna go back and double check the other one, make sure it didn't move at all, and then I'll put up the boards on the sides. All right, the next part is a little bit trickier, and this is how I do it by myself. If you have somebody that can help you hold a tape measure and whatnot, that could be useful. However, that's not my case, so this is how you can do it by yourself. So this front part of the garage is my reference line. I'm making all my measurements off of this front line. So my garage, I got it 40 feet from this front line all the way across. So from outside to outside, depth-wise, I'm dead on. So what I did is I drove 2 stakes in here where I want the front left of portion of my garage to be. And I put a 2x4 there with a screw. Where it's going to be the front outside corner, and that is where I'm going to make my measurements from across the front. So I know I'm 56 feet long, so I'm going to measure 56 feet long and put a black mark on my string, and then I'll make another one of these to put there, because how you square this is then I will figure out what the angle is across it. So if you remember back in math, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's how you get this building square. Now, I don't do that because I've been out of high school and college for 20 years, so I use an app. I just put in my length and my width, and it gives me what my diagonal measurement should be. So once I get this front measured out and my 2 outside screws on the front of the building put in, I will figure out what my angle should be, and then I will measure from the front left, and I'll take my measurement across at an angle to the back right corner and put a mark, and then I'll do the same thing from the front right. I'll take that same angle distance and go to the back left, and then my building should be perfectly square. So I know that's a little bit confusing if you've never done this before, but hopefully it'll make sense once I get it done. So I got my front left corner marked, got my 2 posts in, and I'll make my measurement 56 feet down to the other end, put a mark on the string, put stakes in, and then we'll go from there. So right there's 56 feet, so I will make a mark with a marker right there. See if I can hold the camera and do this all at the same time. I don't know if you can see my black line, but I think you can. So I'll put another set of those little stakes in, and then we'll do our diagonals. I don't know if you can see this, but I put in this app, I put in 40 feet width, 56 feet length, and it gave me a diagonal of 68 feet, 9 and 13/16 inches. So I'll write that down here on this board. 68 feet, 9 and 13/16. All right, so now that I know that measurement, what I can do is from each of the front corners of the garage, I can measure diagonally across that 68, 9 and 13/16, make a mark, and that should be the back corners of each of my garage. The reason you do it from the front line is because you know this line is good. If I was to measure from the front right corner and go back that distance, and then from the back right corner and go the other way, I don't know if I'm square because I have no string line that I've squared up already. So I know this front line is where I want it to be, so I'm going to make both my measurements off the front left and front right corner, and then that will give me my marks, and then I can set my strings across on the left and right side of the garage. If that doesn't make any sense, put something in the comments, and maybe I can draw it out on paper so you can better understand it. You can use this method on any building that you're building, no matter how big. And the key with building is doing the homework up front so your building is square from the get-go, and that will save you a lot of hassle later on down during the build. No matter how big your build is, if you can keep it square from the beginning, you're gonna have a lot less troubles later on. So I'll go ahead and measure off these and put some marks on my line over there and get some more string lines up. All right, I got all the other stakes and boards in, so now I can put my other 2 string lines up, and then I'll make my diagonal measurements again. Actually, I'm gonna check every measurement again to make sure it's accurate, but we'll see how we panned out here, but I think we'll be close. You can't actually see that orange line over there, but I can see it, and being that that's fluorescent orange, I can see my mark on that line, believe it or not. So what I'm going to do to get as close as I can is I'm going to line that mark up with that screw right here, which is the corner of my building, and then put a screw here, and that'll get me close, and then I can fine tune it as I need. We're gonna be close here. See, that line's up there, but I want that string on this side because that'll be my outside edge. That puts me 3/8 off if I leave it on that side. All right, well, I got all my string lines up, so now's the true test. I'm gonna measure my diagonals, and then I'm gonna measure the length and the width and see if we're still on, and we'll see what we got. So we gotta be 68, 9, and 13/16. See, she's pretty much dead on, so I'll check the other direction. I like it. Actually, while I got that hook there, I'll check this. This should be 56 still. 56. And I suppose I might as well check my width while I'm at it, since I got it hooked on that side. My diagonal was good, my length was good. See if my width is good, and then we'll check the other part. Dead on. All right, there you have it. That's how you lay out a building or a house. Now that's my garage part. My house part is 48 by 48, and it sticks out 4 feet on each side of the garage. Since the garage is 40, there'll be 4 feet on each side. So I'm going to repeat that process for the house. So hopefully that helps somebody laying out. If you do it that way, you will be pretty darn close. Close enough that you can get your posts in, and then you basically got to do all the same things again once your posts are in. Put your string lines up, take measurements, make sure you're all square before you frame. So